nap, and suddenly there came a tapping, as someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor!" I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before.
The raven is following you, and we are all following too. You cannot coerce the imp of the perverse. What you did you cannot undo. The raven is calling your name, and we all know you are to blame. The truth will come out, and the raven will shout, nevermore, nevermore. The raven is knowing that your fear is growing, and your life is going to hell. The raven will tell. Where is the raven? Where is the raven? Where is the raven? Where is the raven?
Critics never shall lavish praise on my work while I'm alive, but the raven knows as I decompose, my moment will arrive.
His moment will arrive when he no longer is alive. Raven, 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 nevermore. The raven knows the answer before you even speak. He lurks within the shadows, preserving his mystique.
One word is all the bird will say, perched above the door, judging and condemning me to mourn the lost Lenore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore, nevermore.
Alas, poor Fortunato fell victim to my ruse. I used Amontillado, for he would not refuse. Once chained, all that remained for me to do was lay the stone. Then the whole was finished, and he died alone.
Quoth the raven, nevermore, nevermore.
His cloudy eye would mock me, the old man is dead. Though underneath the floorboard, his heart beats in my head. But then, of course, I felt remorse for what I did that day. And when contrition caused admission, they put me away.
Quoth the raven, nevermore, 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 nevermore.
This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven. Quoth the raven, nevermore, nevermore, nevermore,
Nevermore. The raven knows who called it, no craven foe is he. His message is quite simple, the truth will set you free.
how can a bird say just one word that chills me to the bone?
The raven crows because he knows for what you must atone.
Quoth the raven,
Quoth the raven,
nevermore.
Poe!
Sir.
You've rejected a record number of manuscripts for the coming issue. May I ask why?
They were inferior.
All of them? You can't keep alienating your fellow writers. Soon no one will want to write for my magazine.
I will.
Your views are unnecessarily cruel.
Would you rather me give praise when undeserved?
I wonder if you're not suited for this job anymore, Mr. Poe.
Perhaps working for this namby-pamby publication isn't suited to me, Mr. Graham. And perhaps I should no longer be your editor.
Are you resigning?
Oh, it appears so. Shall I finish the day? I'm in the middle of a review.
Your successor can complete it.
But I've already worked half the day.
And you will be compensated for that.
Then I throw myself onto the world, like a Norman conqueror on the shores of Britain. I must either conquer or die. Succeed or be disgraced.
Am I interrupting something? Perhaps this isn't a good time.
What is your business here?
None of yours.
The vulture circles.
I apologize if my arrival was disruptive.
Yes.
That was not my intent.
Yes, it was.
Am I really that transparent?
As a ghost!
Not this time.
You said that last time.
I know, but you haven't gotten better.
I'm sorry.
It isn't your fault. It isn't anyone's fault.
But I need something to do. Please, Muddy?
Oh, well, you can help by keeping Eddie company. Mom, you know he doesn't do well being alone.
But Muddy...
Let's not tempt fate.
I was never in the habit of intoxication. For a brief period while I resided in Richmond and edited The Messenger, I certainly did give way at long intervals to the temptation by the spirit of Southern conviviality.
What kind of an actor goes to the theater to assassinate a president? A method actor.
Help me choose which stories to offer the publishing houses.
How can I choose? They're all wonderful.
But it is now quite 4 years since I have abandoned every kind of alcoholic drink. 4 years, with the exception of a single deviation, which occurred shortly after my leaving Burton.
You didn't leave Burton, you were fired.
Over disagreements, not because of the narrative he fabricated, saying I was a drunkard. But I did leave Grant.
Oh, potato, potato. You'll get another job. A new job. A different job. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a different job.
Here. These are my favorites.
I trust your judgment. Job well done. Edgar, I'm off to the publishers. Will you take care of Virginia? Always. Hanging by a thread, each day filled with dread, waiting for death at the door, we never get ahead. I supply the hole for which they both draw. My devotion, selfless notion, is my tragic flaw.
My Eddie is writing, and that is exciting. So I keep on fighting, for death is inviting. That really makes me sick. He's romantic and completely smart. His heart is gigantic, bigger than my
Go to bed, I'll be back soon. You may have heard and think it absurd, my daughter has married my nephew. He often is glum as they come. His career will disappear without
hand out some drink. Tell us what you have to sell. What has come from posing well?
This one is called Morella, a true macabre novella, and Berenice is a groundbreaking piece. It tells of a maiden who's buried alive.
Oh dear, do you mean just like the last five? Love to his ideas and learn his themes. Bring her off dead. Death is always on the verge. Does he write inside a coffin?
Many of his tales are not orthodox, like the old portrait and the oblong box, the pit and the pendulum, loss of breath, and the mask of the Red Death. He's writing science fiction and mysteries too. The first detective had a big debut. The Black Cat is a classic tale, of course, but the Raven is a tour de force.
For his work deserves much praise. Must he convolute each phrase? Vocabulary can be quite scary,
And you need a dictionary to make sense of it.
to make sense of it, the pretense of it. Such nonsense, no defense of it.
There is much at stake. Which ones will maintain? 2 or 3 will guarantee survival for our sake. Desperation isn't pretty, and I don't want any pity. For my role may take its toll, I have to sell my soul.
You caught me.
Well, why are you not in bed resting?
I was lonely.
Have you been drawing?
Yes, your favorite subject. You.
A subject I have failed repeatedly.
But one in which I've become an expert.
Did you read my story for the Broadway Journal?
Some secrets of a magazine prison house?
Yes. What did you think?
It is less a story, more an indictment of publishers, cloaked as biting satire. I like that you express your frustrations without embarrassing anyone directly. That was quite clever of you, and surprisingly tactful. Wait, tactful. Are you sure you wrote this?
Oh, you are gonna pay for it! I'm sorry, I didn't...
My sickness isn't your fault.
Virginia,
I'm okay, Muddy. It was just a momentary loss of breath.
what were you children laughing about?
It's our secret.
Why aren't you in bed resting?
I asked her the same. She is stubborn.
Clearly a family trait. A new poem? What? This isn't in your hand.
It's mine. I wrote it for Eddie, for Valentine's Day.
You did?
Yes. Would you like me to read it?
Oh, the floor is yours, milady.
Very well.
I have some chores to do.
Muddy, you don't need to leave.
Well, not to worry. Promise that you'll return to bed and rest.
I promise.
Don't let her dilly-dally for too long.
I won't.
Ever with thee I wish to roam. Dearest, my life is thine. Give me a cottage for my home and a rich old cypress vine. Remove from the world with its sin and care and the tattling of many tongues. Love alone shall guide us while we are there. Love shall heal my weakened lungs. And oh, the tranquil hours we'll spend, never wishing that others may see. Perfect ease we'll enjoy, without thinking to lend ourselves to the world and its glee. Ever peaceful and blissful will be.
My darling, that was without a doubt the loveliest gift anyone has ever given me. You wrote this.
Yes, and there's a secret hidden in it. Did you notice?
An acrostic of my name. Oh, you are clever. Now let us keep our turn.
Oh, are you going out now? It's not yet dark.
I'm not a vampire.
Yes, but you rarely leave the house until after the day is done.
I'll be back in time to have supper with you.
All right. Eddie,
Yes?
do give my best to Mrs. Osgood, won't you?
Of course. Mrs. Osgood, Virginia sends her best. She enjoyed your last visit.
Why, Mr. Poe, how kind. Pray tell, what might you have hidden in secret?
I leave that to your most able imagination, madame.
Well, that is a dangerous playground, sir. Prithee, reveal what thou hast concealed. Oh, flowers. How pedestrian.
It appears I have disappointed you.
I hoped you would reveal your desire.
My lady, that I cannot keep hidden.
Mrs. Ellett has said as much about us in her social circles.
Nothing more than the jealous rantings of a rumored plagiarist and second-rate translator whose works lack originality. I believe that Mrs. Elizabeth Ellett is without talent of any kind.
Why don't you tell me how you really feel? Dare I ask, how would you describe me?
You, Fanny, you are ardent, sensitive, impulsive. The very soul of truth and honor, a worshiper of the beautiful with a heart so radically artless as to seem abundant in art.
Ooh, you flatter me. Have you had a chance to read my latest verses?
Oh, I did and appreciated the brevity. My poetic principle supposes that poems must elevate the soul. No writing of any great length can attain such a goal, and therefore only those of the briefest compositions should be called poems.
What do you suppose is the topic of a great poem?
The love of woman.
Which one? A lover, perhaps?
Every woman. I find it in the grace of her step, the luster of her eye, the melody of her voice, in her soft laughter, her sigh, in the harmony of the rustling of her robes. Love is unquestionably the purest and truest of all poetical things. In my heart, love shall reign as queen, playing every scene in hush rain. In my heart, love is wearing white, much to my delight. I am not afraid. My heart tells no tales. It is clear what ails me. My affliction, this addiction, my romantic dream. Ladies underneath a veil, each elusive like the Holy Grail. In the dark of night, they reveal the light. In my heart, love can mesmerize, take me by surprise, and sting a spell. In my heart, love cannot deceive, worn upon my sleeve, tempting me to hell. My heart tells no tales, an apparent frailty. My obsession, this possession,
Osgood. What a surprise seeing you here with him.
Good afternoon, Reverend. I was just leaving. It was lovely running into you, Edgar. I do hope our paths cross again soon.
As do I.
You get away with everything, don't you?
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
To meet another man's wife in the middle of the day when your own is at home, dying, you should feel guilty.
I've done nothing wrong. I will not apologize.
It's time to answer for your transgressions.
Who are you to judge me?
Let the record show the defendant is Edgar Poe.
What are the charges?
The people will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty of possessing an enormous sense of self-importance.
Does the defendant have any character references who will testify on his behalf?
The simple fact is that would we not but permit ourselves to look into our own souls, we should immediately discover that under the sun there cannot exist any work more thoroughly dignified or supremely noble than a poem which is a poem and nothing more. A poem written solely for the poem's sake.
Sir, you are out of order. Another outburst like that and I will hold you in contempt.
I already hold myself in contempt.
At West Point, they said he was shy, proud, sensitive, and unsociable.
I'll believe that.
They also said he was the wrong man in the wrong place, and he was easily fretted by any jest at his expense.
That's not surprising.
I object, Your Honor. These men are idiots and their opinions hold no value.
Mr. Poe, you are out of order. In my court, the court of public opinion, you are not immune to the challenge of facts. You are not always right, and you are not who you believe yourself to be.
Your Honor, the people call the Reverend Rufus Wilmot Griswold to the stand.
Nothing he says will be of substance. Any magazine would pay more for my toenail than for Rufus Grizzle's soul, unless they wanted a milk strainer. Have you read his Poets and Poetry of America? It was an outrageous humbug.
Mr. Poe, I'm warning you. Another outburst like that and I shall send you to a cell.
There is no denying that his ego is inflated. What is underlying makes him very complicated. Do consider trying to be less opinionated. No one likes a know-it-all.
No one likes a know-it-all.
No one likes a know-it-all
At all.
Even if you happen to be duly educated, it behooves you to behave more cruelly understated. Acting so superior will truly make you hated. No one likes a know-it-all.
No one likes a know-it-all.
No one likes a know-it-all
At all.
Who is the cruelest critic in the room?
Who is the harbinger of mystery and doom?
Notorious or wallowing in gloom.
Is it who or whom?
I know.
You know.
We know Poe.
Who is the master of the poison pen?
Who is resentful and rebukes all other men?
Who is insulting everyone now and then?
Time and time again.
I know.
You know.
Edgar Poe.
It is ill-advised to flex your higher intellect. You could get in trouble if your ire is not checked. Better to stay quiet and inspire more respect. No one likes a know-it-all.
No one likes a know-it-all. No one likes a know-it-all. At all.
What you think you know may make you think you know it all. Thinking things like that could sink a ship amid a squall. If you put your thoughts to ink, be careful what you scroll. No one likes a know-it-all.
No one likes a know-it-all.
No
difficult? Tell the poet of your crime in your own words.
Yes, and try not to plagiarize anyone.
My only crime is that I am not ambitious unless negatively so. I now and then feel stirred up to excel a fool, merely because I hate to let a fool imagine he may excel me. Beyond this, I feel nothing of ambition.
The man has lost all sense of reason.
How? How am I mad? Hearken! And observe how healthily and how calmly I can tell you the whole story.
Now the defendant is guilty of excessive misuse of poetic license. Speak as you, not as a character in one of your tales.
So I am a character in all of my tales.
I find you guilty of abundant self-indulgence and sentence you to the pit of despair.
I have lived in a pit such as that my entire life.
Then you should feel right at home. Take the prisoner away.
There is no passion so impatient as to that of him who, upon the edge of a precipice, meditates a plunge. In this pit of my despair, there is darkness everywhere. Though I try to numb the pain, it has all been in vain. In this prison I have built, riddled with remorse and guilt. It is more than I can bear in my pit of despair. Every day is filled with sadness as I struggle with the madness. Back and forth the pendulum sways, counting down the end of her days. Trapped within my private hell, waiting for the final bell. Back and forth it's coming again, dripping ink that spills from my pen. In this pit of my despair, reaching out but no one's there. Grief is all I've ever known, and I feel so alone. In the shadows of my mind are the dreams I left behind, and the hope I used to find now has vanished into thin air. Life is but a pit of despair. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and
yesterday.
Why didn't you tell me?
Well, you were resting.
You know his letters raise my spirits. Read it to me.
Perhaps later. I don't want to upset you.
You don't need to protect me. I'm not a child.
You are my child.
The letter, please.
My dear heart, my dear Virginia, Our mother will explain why I stay away this night. I trust the job interview will result in some good. I should have lost courage, but for you, my darling little wife, you are my greatest and only stimulus now to battle this uncongenial, unsatisfactory, and ungrateful life. Your devoted Edgar.
I worry about him.
I worry about you.
I know money.
I wish I could trade places with you, suffer in your stead. There is something wrong when a child dies too young. It is like a song that is waiting to be sung, like a chord that is
last year.
I must have a word with you.
And what word is that?
Virginia.
Ah, that one speaks volumes. How is she?
Please, I beg of you, come and take her.
So, now you want me to take her?
Yes. Please, I cannot bear it another moment.
Is this about her pain or yours?
For 5 years, I have watched her languish between life and you. Why would you allow her to suffer?
Hey, don't put this on me. I came for your wife 5 years ago, and you sent me away.
I didn't agree to this. I wouldn't have wanted her to be in pain even for 1 second.
But you said no price was too high, did you not?
I did. Oh God, I did. What have I done?
You've written stories that immortalize your wife. Stories that will live on well beyond her death and yours.
Perhaps I would have written other stories instead.
Perhaps, but every choice has a consequence, and every path has a purpose. Virginia's illness was the best thing that could have happened to you.
How can you say such a thing? Why are you talking so?
I merely state the obvious.
You stood by as I've undergone all the agonies of losing her, over and over again. It is the horrible, never-ending oscillation between hope and despair which I can no longer endure.
You would like to find relief in the death of your wife.
But when you say it like that, it makes me sound horribly selfish.
I don't pass judgment. Would you make the same choice now? Would you ask for more time with her if you knew she would suffer?
No.
But what if that time allowed you to write even more stories that would bring you fame and fortune?
No! No!
You can drink it. It isn't poison.
I've decided. The choice is hers to make. If she is ready, I will not stop her. Or you.
As it shall be. Come. It's not polite to keep a lady waiting.
How dare you bring him into this house?
You think that sequestering yourselves in this castle will keep me from doing what I must?
The prodigal son comes home.
Mrs. Cook,
Have we met, sir?
I'm afraid we have.
The stranger in the shadows follows me into the grave. For once I am the gallows master, death becomes my slave. The price I paid, the deal I made, put me in dire straits.
The mask of the Red Death invades to execute our fates. Dancing while death waits outside these walls, we are safe in our fortress, stalling for time. Dancing while death hangs, our prisoners reach, we are catching our breath, dancing with death.
I'm there between the shadows, always closer than you know. I need no invitation when it's time for you to go. You cannot hide, for I'm inside, and now the end is near.
The mask of the Red Death is here to revel in our fear. Dancing while death moves into these walls, we are sniffing those rises, false yet alive. Dancing while death hangs, ruby next, we are gasping for breath, dancing with death.
say?
Only the best for you, Fanny. You know, they say the creme de la creme of artists and writers come here. Have you noticed anything particularly special about the name of this establishment?
Of course, silly. It's Spinelli, like my name. If I didn't know better, I might think you were trying to win my heart.
Is it working?
This is the best sherry we have, sir.
Amontillado. Yes, good.
Rufus, it's a Montiliado. The same as in Edgar's story.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
I'm sorry,
God.
sir, if the selection is not to your liking.
No, please. Poor. I wouldn't want to disappoint my fair lady.
Speaking of Edgar.
Must we?
No, I didn't mean to hit a sore spot.
It's fine. What were you going to say?
He won his libel suit against the Evening Mirror for reprinting those horribly defamatory claims Mr. English wrote about him.
Yes, I heard. To be honest, those claims weren't that far from the truth.
Rufus, how can you say that? Since when has Edgar been silly, vain, or ignorant?
Are you serious?
Ignorant, no. Silly and vain, yeah.
Well, Mr. English also described him as a quack in literature. Surely you don't agree with that.
No. But you, of all people, know intimately well that Edgar often drinks until intoxicated.
Rarely, and only when his heart is touched. A single glass of wine can drive him to madness. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Is that the reason you withdrew from him? Because he couldn't hold his liquor?
That, and other reasons.
Such as?
A lady doesn't discuss such things. But I will admit that I fancied his genius quite a bit.
As many ladies do.
I don't know what you're implying. My relationship with Edgar was special.
I simply meant that he has that effect on men.
Including you?
Well, I appreciate his, he has a great personality.
You will catch your death out here.
He has already caught me.
Why do you torture yourself so, coming to Virginia's grave so often? Remember when we were all happy?
That was a lifetime ago.
Still, you were happy.
Look where that got me. Where can I hide from the image of your face? Though I have tried, I am failing to erase all these memories of you. Tell me, what can I do? How can I sleep? I am haunted by your laugh. Nothing to keep but a final photograph. What can we do innocent of a weeping willow, dying slow. I could not bear letting go of your memory. Living with pain in a hope never more to share. Can I remain and survive my heart laid bare? What can we do with these memories of you? I was happy to endure every whim. With you gone, my future looks a bit grim. Can I go on living as I struggle to cope and move on? Where can I turn to embrace the lonely dawn? Memories that burn of a beauty dead and gone. What will I do with all these memories? All these memories. All these memories of you. Of you. Of you. To the few who love no. To the few who love me and to whom I love, to those who feel rather than to those who think, to the dreamers and those who put faith in dreams as in the only realities.
Edgar!
Fanny! What are you doing in New York?
We saw you in the paper. You were speaking today. We wouldn't miss it for the world.
We?
Yeah, I'm sure you're ridiculously in the city.
Did you expect me to walk here in the rain?
Of course not, Fanny.
I fear the weather may keep your audience away.
What I am propounding will revolutionize the world of physical and metaphysical science. I say this calmly, but I say it. Rufus, I am confident my audience will come.
You confident they'll stay?
I promise not to read it in its entirety. You'll get your 50 cents worth.
Oh, that's right.
Not that an audience wouldn't be enraptured by every word of anything you say.
Yeah, the paper said you were speaking on the cosmogony of the universe. What exactly does that mean?
I have solved the mystery of the origin of everything, which is why I offer this book of truths.
Sort of rather lofty claim. Whose truths? Yours?
You tell me, Rufus, what do you think of this? So, you and the Reverend,
Yes,
since when?
he took care of me when I was ill.
You were ill? Why didn't you tell me?
Oh, it's fine. Just a cough, nothing more.
That's how it started in Virginia.
Right. How is she? Oh, Edgar, I'm so sorry. I am.
Excuse me for interrupting. Pleasantries aside, of course. As a religious man, I must say what you're positing here is borderline heresy, saying no one man is inferior because each soul is in part its own God.
Rufus, it is with humility really unassumed, with a sentiment even of awe that I say such a thing. But my primary proposition is not religious. Once you hear more, I assure you, the novelty and moment of my views will be readily apparent.
Which are?
First, because nothing was, therefore all things are.
What do you mean? Are you unwell?
Although I've been sick intermittently with fever, I assure you, Rufus, my mind is as sound as ever.
This is definitely not the work of a disordered mind. I would go so far as to say it's the work of someone trying to reconcile science with philosophy and spirituality.
Eureka! Yes! I have determined that mind is cognizant of matter only through its two properties, attraction and repulsion. Unity is nothingness. Matter, springing from unity, sprang from nothingness. Matter, and finally, all will return to nothingness and returning to unity.
How?
Gravity! Each particle tends to every other particle, which suggests perfect totality or absolute unity. Oh, I see the weather hasn't kept my guests away. Why don't you take your seats? Good evening, my esteemed colleagues and dear friends. Welcome to my presentation on the cosmogony of the universe. Or, better yet, Eureka. Let me guide you as we reveal the majesty of all things. Allow me to pontificate before I open for debate the topic of today's symposium. This may sound strange and rather odd, but I believe we all are God, and I will prove it from this podium. There's an infinity of stars that fill the sky, and still there's more that you and I can't see. Just as the rising sun must die when dusk arrives, we navigate our lives to some degree. Life is a train that must always remain on the tracks. And if you stray from the path, we may never get back. Everyone feels out of place, but we have dreams that we chase. That may be our saving grace. Life was a journey that I struggled to complete. At times I felt defeated by fate. Now that the hourglass is running out of sand, I've come to understand, perhaps too late. We are connected and never alone if we just follow the path we are shown. Life was a mystery until I understood there's a greater plan, a grander good. Like the setting sun in the sky, I am done and ready to die. Eureka! Eureka! Eureka!
My dear, dear mother, I have been so ill, have had the cholera, or spasms quite as bad, and now can hardly hold the pen. The very instant you get this, come to me. Come to Philadelphia. The joy of seeing you will almost compensate for our sorrows. It is no use to reason with me now. I must die. I have no desire to live since I have done Eureka. I could accomplish nothing more. You have been all in all to me, darling, ever beloved mother, and dearest, truest friend.
Eureka! Reynolds!
Dr. Reynolds?
No, sir. I am John Moran, the attendant physician.
To whom was he referring then?
I don't know. He's been mostly incoherent since they brought him in. The delirium is due to a high fever.
I detect a gash on his brow and a contusion on his head.
Yes, well, after being missing for 5 days, he was found at Ryan's Tavern. He was wearing beggar's shoes and had no identification or belongings. Luckily, I knew who he was instantly. Everyone knows Edgar Poe, the great writer.
Then you must also know of the writer named Rufus Griswold.
Griswold, huh? Can't say as I have. Who is he? Oh, you.
Reverend Rufus Griswold, at your service.
Reverend, are you here to give Mr. Poe his last rites?
Oh, heavens. No. I was wondering when you anticipate he might expire.
Soon. Unfortunately, he suffers from an inflammation of
The ego?
the brain. If you're not here as a man of the cloth, are you here as his friend?
As a matter of speaking, he entrusted me to be his literary executor and biographer.
Oh, no! No!
Ryan's Tavern, you say? He was inebriated.
He had not the slightest odor of liquor upon his breath or person. I sense a certain animosity towards my patient. What could he have possibly done to you?
It is difficult to put into words.
Oh, give it a try.
He's often said that I'm not a good writer.
And that's why you can't put it into words. I recall something of Mr. Poe's Between Wakefulness and Sleep, in which he wrote, "No thought is out of the reach of language, and he never had a thought he could not set down in words, with even more distinctness than as he conceived it. Thought is made logical by the effort of written expression, although he does concede a class of fancies exists which are not thoughts, and we are aware of them only upon the very brink of sleep."
You are a fan of his writing.
I am. I am particularly fond of those who possess a gift for language.
Well, sir, my gift for language will become readily apparent when I pen his obituary for the New York Tribune. I shall write, Edgar Allan Poe is dead. He died in Baltimore. This announcement will startle many, but few will be grieved by it. I just had a thought. You will likely be the last person to see Mr. Poe alive, correct?
Without a doubt.
It could be a lucrative endeavor to go on a speaking tour as the doctor who treated Mr. Poe on his deathbed.
What kind of a doctor would exploit a dying man?
This is so cold in here.
To preserve all the dead bodies.
Oh. Perhaps I should be going.
Yes, I think you should. Warmed over.
Is he gone?
Yes.
Am I?
Not you, my friend.
Why
Not
are you whispering?
Dramatic effect.
What was that scream?
Oh, Griswold. Mr. Step.
Did you kill him?
Well, for now, a sprained wrist will have to do. At least he'll be forced to write your slanderous obituary with the wrong hand.
He will! Say the worst of me after I'm gone.
Unfortunately, it'll be a long time before your name is cleared of his lies. Even then, the myth will overshadow the truth, and horrible movies will be made which won't do you or your stories any justice. But a musical will fix that.
Where is my trunk?
Best to leave your baggage behind.
No. It contains my Eureka manuscript. People must read it so I'm no longer remembered as a writer of horror. No one will laugh at me anymore, for I've finally written something of consequence.
No one's been laughing at you. You are well regarded. They will say, once there was a fine poet whose verse ably knew how to show it. Though seldom profane, he was rather insane, and the only one who didn't know it.
There once was a dark, brooding chap, for whom lads were feathers in his cap. Though others may fear him, now many can hear him. I am honored to have taken his flap. Listen. Do you hear the bells?
Yes, I do.
You have been my confidant and friend. Can you tell me, will I be much mourned?
Deeply. There will be a cloud of intense gloom and devout sorrow. You were loved for who you were in spite of who you were not. In the end, that's all anyone can ask for.
In my heart, believe that. Listen! Do you hear the bells?
Yes, Edgar, I do. I hear them.
Lord, help my poor soul.
And your soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted evermore.
Take this
Peace upon the brow, and in parting from you now, this much let us avow, you are not wrong to dream that your days have been a dream.
What is
Waiting round the bed, as the journey it is time to awake, for now the spell must break. All that we see or see is the illusion while we dream. Yes, all that we see or see is a dream within a dream. Dream, dream. Surrender, do not fear it. Eureka, the splendor of the Spirit. Awaken, Eureka.
I will count backwards from 5 to 1. You will awaken refreshed and remember everything. 5, 4, 3, 2. How do you feel? What did you learn?
I was too deeply conscious of the mutability of temporal things to be consistent in anything. My life was whim, impulse, passion, an infinity of imperfect pleasures.
Yes, good. What do you make of that?
Like all lives, mine was a book of truths, not in its character of truth-telling per se, but for the beauty that abounded within it.
Well, looks like your time's up.
Ever evolving, a mystery solving itself. What is the chance I would find all the answers myself? Life was the story I penned, changing the book in the end. Bring down the curtain, eureka! I have finished my quest. Bring down the curtain, eureka, eureka! I am ready to rest. Finally cleared. My